All right, jumping right into Unit 20, Arizona Deer Application Draw 2023, Unit 20. Unit 20 is divided into three subunits, 20A, 20B, and 20C. All these subunits are vastly different. I would give 20 in general. It's a really good place to actually draw a tag. Whether you're a non-resident or a resident, I don't care what unit, subunit you're drawing. If you look at the draw odds, it's all pretty good. 20A, 20B, and 20C are all very, very friendly to draw a tag. There's a lot of mule deer, but let's break it down subunit by subunit because they're so different. I'm gonna start with 20A. 20A, they give out a ton of tags for 20A. And the reason being is there's a ton of deer. There's a lot of deer. The unit is very, very big. It encompasses a ton of different kinds of habitat that deer love, that mule deer love, from like rolling grasslands to high ponderosa pines to scrub oak to juniper country. So 20A has it all. 20A's got a fair amount of water as well too to accommodate big populations of mule deer. But they give out a lot of tags. There's gonna be a lot of hunting pressure. So expect a lot of hunting pressure right where all the people are. So like any of the big forests where it's a really good place to camp, that's where a lot of hunters are gonna go and put a lot of pressure on these deer and push them back further in some of these crevices and cracks that are harder to find. So 20A is an awesome hunt. The deer quality, the trophy potential is kind of in that 160 plus type range. You can get deer bigger than that, but that's what I would go into expecting. That's like top end style. I mean, you can definitely find bigger, but like if you're seeing a mature mule deer in 20A, and I've seen big 30-inch deer, believe it or not, in 20A. I've seen big bucks, and that are well above 180. But on that general rifle hunt, you got to go into a thing. A mature deer is a mule deer with a frame. A lot of the genetics are kind of like mountain, kind of scrubby mountain genetics, kind of tighter frames with a little bit more crabby. With the deep, they don't quite have as deep of forks as some of the trophy units do, just genetically. But 20A is a great place to draw a tag and go hunting. It's a beautiful place, especially if you're up in the pines and want to just go camping and have a good time, bring your family while you go off and try to chase some deer. So that just a little bit of knowledge of the area will help. Doing some scouting and kind of understanding some of the access. Some of that access in spots closer to Prescott, closer to some of the cities, can be a little tricky. You got to really be careful where you're hunting and where you're allowed to go and walk and hike and all that kind of stuff. 20B is really, really rugged, really, really thick unit that's like south. It's basically flows out of Phoenix on that northwest side of Phoenix along I-17. Very, very rugged. It basically is all the Bradshaw Mountains. Very, very thick. Deer populations are good, but man, it's hard to hunt there. Very, very easy to get a tag as a resident or non-resident, but you have got to expect a very difficult hunt, both physically and mentally, because it's hard to find those deer that live up into some of that stuff. It's very, very difficult to locate a lot of those deer that live in 20B. Depending on what side of the mountains you're hunting too, it's a lot drier on that east side of 20B, and then compared to the west side of 20B, it's a lot more precipitation, a lot wetter, but there's more roads and more people and so more pressure. So you're dealing with one thing or another. I think it's very, very realistic to have a successful hunt in 20B on your first hunt, but don't expect to come home with a giant mule deer. These are units, guys. Unit 20 is one of those like beginner, and not like you're a beginner hunter, but it's like that entry level mule deer units where you're like, I want to go mule deer hunting in Arizona. Where do I go? Okay, so that's where you start. You go to Unit 20, Unit 21, which I'm going to talk about later, Unit 19. So some of these areas where it's quality mule deer, quality draw odd potential for you, and just a good experience. It's not a shoot the moon type of hunt. It's not one of those hunts where you're going in there looking to, shoot a giant world-class deer or see a ton of deer just in general. 20A, you may see a lot of deer in 20A, but bucks are a whole different story because they're gonna get pushed around and get into some of those deeper, nastier areas. So obviously follow me on the map as I'm going along with it. I'm kind of highlighting some stuff in all these areas. 20C is way, way different too. I mean, it's very, very different. 20C is like, you have a lot of private land, a lot of access issues, a lot of public land. This is rare for Arizona, and I want to touch on this. There's a lot of public land that you have really tough public access to. Now, that's something that's more common in Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, where you have a lot of locked up public land. But 20C has that, and we don't have that very much in Arizona. We have very good public access, but it is a very difficult area to hunt on that east side just due to some of the access that's locked off. There's a lot of state land that's locked off, and it's very, very difficult to get into, and it's unfortunate because there's a lot of really good hunting on that eastern side of 20C. It's just, you just can't get into it. Private housing developments and stuff are just locking everything up, and it just makes things very difficult. So most of the hunting pressure and hunting access is on that west side. Like that hillside is the nearest town. All that stuff, all that state land out there is very accessible, but there's gonna be a lot of hunting pressure. The draw odds are pretty good. So there's gonna be a lot of people that again want to draw a mule deer tag for the first time. They want to start somewhere, so they will draw a 20A, 20B, or 20C tag, and they will come up and just drive around and create kind of like that hunting. That it seems like there's a lot of hunting pressure just by the amount of people, but really, if you're willing to get off the road and do some scouting and do some work glassing and be ready to shoot a little bit farther, I think you can be successful. But understand the obstacles in each hunt you're getting into. So 20B. Has a stiff entry level just from the physicality of the Bradshaw Mountains, how big they are, and kind of the access just on foot. 20A, there's way more tags in 20A, so there's gonna be a lot more people running around. So that's an obstacle that you're gonna have to kind of come against in 20A, more so than normal. So on every mule deer hunt in Arizona, you're gonna have a little public pressure, but 20A is pretty substantial. And 20C, you will have all public, hunter pressure, but you'll also have some access issues too as well. So be ready for that. Do your research ahead of time. Deer populations are really scarce on that southern edge of 20C. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to hunt that 20C southern stuff where you can access it, they're scarce. There's mule deer there, guys. I'm telling you, but it's tough. I've spent boots on the ground in a lot of these areas. I've looked for deer for a long time, been successful, and also been unsuccessful. So understand that. If you guys draw this tag, any of these tags, 20A, B, C, and you guys are looking for some help, depending on your budget, hit me up. I got all my stuff in the description below. Guiding, outfitting, drop camps, scouting packages, all that kind of stuff, guys. Hit me up in the comments below as well in this video. And then if you got any questions, I'll try to get back to you. Try to help you guys out as much as you can. I really want to support the hunting community, and I want to just educate people. If you are new to hunting and you just want to get into it, I encourage you, go for it, try it, and just put the effort in. You don't need to spend a lot of money to hunt in Arizona, and it's more about effort than it is anything else. So stick with it. Don't be surprised if it takes you a year or two of drawing different tags to actually be successful, and that's what it's all about, guys, because deer that we take in Arizona are hard earned. And that's why hunters that are good in Arizona are very well polished and can hunt just about anywhere when it comes to finding game, because it takes a lot to find some of these deer in these hunts. So stick with it, guys. I hope you guys all have luck in the draw, and hit me up if you have any other questions. We're going to come at you with units 21, 22, and 23. I'm going to release those on the same day because they're kind of all in that same Mogollon Rim kind of area. And they all kind of are pretty similar, but we're going to get to that later. All right, guys, talk to you later.